Stephanie, this one is for you. Okay. So we have a long shared history. Worked with you while you were at Aflac, and now you're at Equitable. I love your slogan, the 5 days to 5 minutes, right? Your team is focused on completely transforming that broker experience. Can you share your vision, what you're aiming for when you say 5 days to 5 minutes?
I think in order to answer that question, just to understand a little bit about our business, we are a 7-year young startup employee benefits business in an industry with a lot of decade-old sort of legacy processes, people, technology, and that in many ways gives us the opportunity to be nimble and to rethink the experience that we deliver. So we started with first our vision of creating powerfully simple experiences for our customers and really reimagining how the journey should go. There are a lot of opportunities across the value chain. We started with what we call our acquisition journey, which is everything from RFP intake all the way through to a client is activated or goes live. And so this concept of 5 days to 5 minutes and the scope of the partnership that we have is a high volume, high touch, first impression experience that we make. And we're really taking a lot of the friction out of the way the industry has always done it and taken some of those processes really down 5 days to 5 minutes with accuracy and really exceeding the expectations on what we deliver back to the client and the broker.
How did your team identify this as the first CX journey?
We really try and start with the outside-in thinking. And when you think about it from the customer's shoes, there's the process of, receiving a quote and implementing, and then what we call everything on the back end, which is ongoing service and claims and that ongoing customer experience. We started here because we felt like it's really where everything begins. We approach our projects, and this one in particular, where we got in a room and we said, let's stop trying to fix or reimagine current state. Let's start with the whiteboard. And we said, what does ideal future state mean? What would that look like? Why do we have to touch all of these unstructured emails with benefit booklets and census? Like, how can we automate that? How can Usher be a partner to help us do that? And so we really started with no concept of the way we do things today, just purely what would perfect state look like. And we built that, and really that has been our journey in 2022. And collectively, we've had a lot of successes, so thank you for that.
What was that experience like for your brokers? I know this is transformative for your business, but what was the experience for your brokers?
Yeah.
And what impact does it do to them?
Yeah, so in many ways, if any of you work in the employee benefits industry, we get tens of thousands of unstructured RFP emails, quote requests, and plan design information. And to be honest, we had a lot of people, underwriters and intake specialists that were taking that in, setting up cases. And so today, a majority of the portion of that is a humanless interaction that when you think about the expectations of the broker and you think about busy season bottlenecks and truly some simple quotes getting into that process and taking 5 days, there can be same-day turnarounds. The underwriting process is much cleaner, and ultimately it feeds into a fully digital onboarding with one source of truth coming in from that AI interaction. So I feel like in 9 months we achieved what I would have taken 3 to 5 years in some of my prior lives. So the brokers have definitely felt it, and its fourth quarter is upon us, and we will deliver on that commitment this year.
How did you gain stakeholder buy-in? What was your approach?
Well, as Stephanie was saying, we're 7 years young at Equitable. While Equitable is over 100-year company, our business is treated as a startup. So we need to take chances. We need to be on the bleeding edge of technology. Our systems right now are all API cloud-based systems, and we needed to find somebody to help, automate our process and reduce the manual effort that's going on in our quoting and RFP intake process. What we did with Usher is we were looking for a company that could help take all these unstructured emails in and automate the process. This isn't like RPA where it's a form or utilizing OCR. You get 1,000 RFPs in, you're getting 1,000 different RFPs. Everything is different, whether it's in an email, could be in an attachment, a booklet from a prior carrier, could be in an Excel spreadsheet. We're taking and automating that entire process using AI machine learning. What we've seen with the technology here is it's very difficult to implement. It's different type thinking, but what it comes down is to getting the buy-in on a business case. Are you going to save money? That's what it comes. Whether you're a startup or a legacy platform, you get funding if you think you're going to get a good ROI on your investment. And we broke our project up with Usher into two pieces, our RFP intake and then RFP rating. So the intake of 100% I said manual process where someone's just basically reading an email, plopping that data into the system. With Usher, we went live and basically from contract to pilot mode, we were in live in just basically a little over 3 months. And since that time, we've been able to automate over 80% of the cases with over 90% accuracy rate, including census transformation, which is probably one of the bigger time-consuming issues because it's basically someone taking a census and all the different rows in an Excel and putting it into our format to load the system. So we've been pretty successful for that. And our next phase of this we're working on right now is the RFP rating. So each one of our products, we have a set of ancillary products for our group business. And there's probably 600 to 700 data elements across all those products that we have to scrub for. So it's an extremely intensive process. And especially when you get in a booklet from a carrier, you can match a quote for quote if we have that particular variations of those products and load them into the system. We're in the middle of that still. Our vision accident CI products are already in the 80% accuracy rates. And we're working on the other products, dental, SC, LTD. Those are, over 50% as we speak. And our goal is we said 5 days to 5 minutes, that we're going to get to a point where the broker can send that quote directly in and they can get the proposal back within 5 minutes. And so it's pretty exciting. I've been very impressed by what we've been able to do in such a short period of time. The other part about with Usher that differentiated you when we were doing the evaluation, their invisible app, which broker tends to forget things. They forget basic information. The invisible app can go right back to them and say, hey, you missed this field, you missed this field. Please provide this information. Normally, that was a two or three, possibly 3 day turnaround by the time you brought it into the sales exec, go inside in-house. So our goal is to do that right to the broker and get them to respond, hopefully within minutes, and again, get that quote out there.
I would add one other thing. Not only were we able to achieve that in a really short period of time, but from the day we were at the whiteboard, which was less than a year ago, to the call we made to Usher because of the history we've had with the partnership and the people, to the contracting, to the proof of concept, to go live, to today, has really been 9-10 months. I mean, it's I'm kind of giggling about these topics, and we're talking about census automation, but it really blows my mind how well you did on this project, so thank you.
Thank you. Change is hard, and change at scale is even more harder. What I've been most impressed with is the way you have established, a process to manage change within your organization. Can you share a little bit about what your thought process is and how do you go about it? Hindsight's always 20/20. And
first is we've established a culture of change. We have some guiding principles that we communicate every chance we get, like we're on the relentless pursuit of simplicity. We challenge the status quo and several other things that help guide people's thinking and work. But, assuming you have all the culture right, the process around change and executing well on these initiatives is important. And so, in prior lives, we used to take an approach of the broker experience end to end, the employer experience end to end, and the employee. And it worked well, but we've taken a slightly different approach. where we look at our end-to-end experience and we've segmented it into 7 verticals. So we look at the RFP intake and registration process, the quoting and quote delivery process, the client onboarding, and we slice up our business into those verticals. And within each vertical, we work in an agile environment. They're very small and very specific skilled teams, and the people, process, technology in the scope of that vertical is really what people's goal is. And so in this initiative this year, there were 3 verticals that were being touched, 3 separate teams. So we get people in rooms for a day or 2, and it feels like we make 3 to 6 months of progress having all the people in a room for 2 to 3 days. And so for us, it was defining the verticals, what success looks like, identifying the right teams, and then executing and keeping those teams together with the people, process, and technology all aligned is what is really important.
It's great. It's great. Dave, what do you wish you knew before you embarked on this journey of transforming with Usher?
Are an agile organization, as Stephanie was saying, and Usher is too. So it was great in terms of our speed to market and getting things going. But also sometimes with agile, you can't see the forest within the trees. You're delivering every 2 weeks, and you're constantly throwing things out there. I thought we should have maybe taken a step back a little bit more in the beginning, did a little more big board planning and implementation of the software. And the other aspect, no offense to Usher, I wish maybe we would have taken a little bit longer, and internally I'd had more people on my IT team learn the system. We're in the process of doing that right now. It's a fairly easy system to learn, but when we're trying to go so fast, it's just easier to work with you guys and have you do the implementation.
Yeah. The data hygiene part of bringing clean data to make sure that the machine learning models are. What would your take be?
We had to do was we started off with, I think it was over 1,500 different examples we sent into the engine to start the machine learning piece of it. And it was extremely difficult for our testing group and some of the business people to really understand the data transformation and how it works. That our QA people are used to, typical like if then else type algorithms. And if it does this, it's going to do this. With AI and the data scrubbing and stuff, it's not as simple as the typical programming. You go from everything looks great, and then you throw another example in there, and all of a sudden that field was not getting pulled. Well, it happened to be there was a little difference in a verb or a noun, the sentence or the sentence before that the machine learning algorithm would take into account and saying, because of all these different examples, we're thinking a different expectation. And it was a different thought process from our testing group and perspective that, hey, it's not always going to go up. We kind of took some dips in terms of the accuracy rates because there's just so many different variations in how the algorithm works.
What would you do differently, Stephanie, knowing what you know now?
A lot of my answers are the way I always did it before and the way I think about it now. So I'm going to kind of go back to that. For 20 years, we've worked on this calendar cycle. You get the scope of your work, you request your funding, you get your budget, January 1st hits, you go and you execute as much as you can by the end of the year and you do it all over again. And it doesn't work for our business. You tend to be elevating capabilities too close to the fourth quarter, it's busy, people are kind of changing the tires as the bus is going down the street. So we're rethinking our just overall approach to development and innovation and really thinking about these verticals as evergreen and retiming the sprint around the calendar, not to stop and start and turn into a pumpkin at midnight because of some funding vehicle. So we've changed that approach a little bit, and probably because we're still elevating in September and October and November, and it's busy season, and it's not ideal. We'll get through it, but in the future, in 2023 and beyond, we're changing the way we approach development and just technology in general.
How do you guys see, your company is reacting to the disruptive forces that are trying to take your business?
We operate, at least at Equitable, and I know you know, in a group environment, which means there are multiple decision makers, B to B to C. And so operating in the confines of the workplace, of an employer and HR benefit strategy, of the broker and how they like to do business, always has to be an input. In some ways, it's a governor to innovation because of the way that benefits have been distributed. But I do think that there's going to be a continued emergence of workforce that maybe isn't at a traditional workplace that will allow innovation to come in. So when we start with the end in mind, we start with ideal state, not how do we fix current state, but also try to think about the confines of the B to B to C interaction and meet the needs of all of those constituents.